For starters, this is the first election where we are not going to have a credible presidential candidate from the region. The region has produced three of the countries post
now we see the big rebellion. I mean, people like the president's own local MP, Moses Kuria, turned against him. We have the Gachaguas, Alice Wahome, Ndindi Nyoro, and others.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's very strange. And to the extent they even say that this president has not done much for their region, which is actually not true, actually.
Which is not true. Which is not true.
Welcome to another episode of Real Life and Politics. We are hosted once more by the nation's Circle Lounge. We are honored to have Mr. Otieno Otieno, a top columnist in one of the top newspapers in Kenya, who will talk to us about the situation whereby we have a president who is leaving power and people from his home area have turned against him, or central Kenya politics. Why do you think this has happened, Mr. Otieno?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Central Kenya, for one, is very important for this election. For starters, this is the first election where we are not going to have a credible presidential candidate from the region. The region has produced three of the countries post-independence presidents, starting with Jomo Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, and now Uhuru Kenyatta. Now we have this unique situation where for the first time there's no credible candidate from the region. President Uhuru Kenyatta having endorsed Raila Odinga. And two, President Uhuru Kenyatta has also in a fairly revolutionary way talked about the need for the presidency to rotate to other regions. So for a region that has been used to producing presidents, you naturally expect that this will be a bit hard to take for some people. And then two,
that is hard to take. That is the endorsement of
Raila, and even the idea that the presidency should rotate. You know that there must be a generation of people there who had bought into the idea of the hegemony, you know, that we are the power people, no? Yeah. So we have this situation where, for the first time, there is almost zero chance of having a president from that meaning. And then there is the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in March 2018. That was against change. It's something that must have come as a cultural shock for a lot of people there. You know the profile of Raila Odinga, and it is his ethnicity in that part of the country. I think there are politicians who have said that selling him there is like selling pork to in Saudi Arabia. So that is the historical background, and it's not easy to change. It's not easy to change such attitudes.
It's true, because the other day actually I had to tell off some people on social media
Yes.
who are hating on the president's son for marrying a Luo lady. I told them she's just a wife like any other wife. And what is all this noise about being a Luo?
Being a lawyer.
Yes.
Unfortunately, some of those ethnic overtones get into politics as well,
Yes.
in national politics. So I think that's one problem that the president is struggling with in central Kenya. I'm not saying that it's insurmountable. I think it's done very well. First, even the decision to have a handshake with Raila was a very brave one. Yes, and he's stuck to it. Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, he actually called a group of local leaders to Sagana and explained why he had to shake Raila's hands. So we see a president who was not only brave and bold in reaching out to a former bitter rival, but he's also following up, taking the lead in selling him among his people.
Now we see the big rebellion. I mean, people like the president's own local MP, Moses Kuria, turned against him. We have the Gachaguas, Alice Wahome, Ndindi Nyoro, and others.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's very strange. And to the extent they even say that this president has not done much for their region, which is actually not true, actually.
Which is not true. Which is not true. The perception that President Uhuru Kenyatta hasn't done much for central Kenya is slightly untrue. I think President Uhuru has done fairly well in terms of looking at the whole country. I think he's probably the only president who has, to some extent, distributed resources fairly. You go to every part of this country, you would find something is done. You would find some road is done there. You would find some homes that have been connected to the national electricity grid. You go to coast, for example. Yes, some of the infrastructure there, the Dongokudu roads, the container terminals at the port. The port has been expanded. There is a new seaport coming in Lamu. Of course, you remember coast as traditionally complained of being neglected. So I think, unlike any other president, he confronted that. All right, you go to Kisumu, for example, there's that port coming up. There's an road interchange around Ahero. You go to every part of the western Kenya, you'll always need it. So, coming back to central Kenya, of course, it's the nature of our politics that the region that produces the president has traditionally felt a little entitled. They say, this is our man, so the bigger chunk of the national cake should come to our area. So the question is that is not that Uhuru has not done some work in Central. It is that Uhuru has done some work in other areas, right? Which a lot of Kenyans are not used to. Then there is the localized succession politics. All right, with Uhuru going to retirement and leaving no credible successor in the local policy. What the local media here likes to refer to as the kingpin, who is the Mount Kenya kingpin. So there are these ambitious guys like Kurias, Ndindi Nyoros, Gachagua, who are trying to position themselves to be future kingpins.
Yes.
Yeah, and how do they do that?
By attacking the current
By attacking the current
kingpin. Yes.
They were trying kingpin. One, so that it doesn't, for example, influence the election against their preferred candidate. The preferred candidate is Ruto. But I don't think they are largely in it because they want Ruto to be president.
Yes.
All right? They want...
It's a kind of rebellion against
They
Uhuru.
want to be... They're rebelling against Uhuru. But their main goal is to position themselves in a Ruto administration if he wins, and then become the power brokers in central Kenya, and then emerge as the kingpin. So there's that linear of succession. Then the other thing is the culture, the cultural differences that that is entrenched in our politics. You remember that Uhuru actually shook Ruto's hand, right?
Yes.
That was a handshake. What happened in 2013 was a handshake. It was the same thing that Uhuru did with Raila. How comes that is not an issue for them? So it's not just what happens. What happened with the Uhuru-Raila handshake is that some people in his community perceived him to have shaken the wrong hands. Yes. These are the hands of the guy that has been demonized in that area for years, who comes from this other ethnicity, who's Luo. You know, the traditional feuds between the traditional political feuds between the Luo and the Kikuyu. So it's just the wrong hand. It's just the wrong hand that a lot of people are in that place.
How would you explain the hustler narrative as a top columnist? You have really studied our society.
Yes.
Because we have these young people. Me, I saw it like a kind of rebellion against the establishment. When they say now, because what I realized in central Kenya, there's a major divide between the wealthy or the oligarchs and the young people and the poor, which is actually not so much in Nyanza. In central province is different. Yes,
which also makes central Kenya unique. Unlike Nyanza or somewhere, the gaps, the gap between the haves and the have-nots is not as wide as it is in central Kenya. As you say, they are the oligarchs. I think they would have a problem to that reference, oligarchs. But that's what they are. So Ruto is a very clever, very clever politician. I think at some point he realized that Uhuru was drifting away,
from his people.
Not from his people.
Drifting to where?
From Ruto. Supporting now. I think he realized
the
Uhuru
agreement
was not going to support him. So how do you weaken Uhuru? You look for some grievances within Uhuru's community. And one of the low-hanging fruit there is the inequality between the oligarchs and the small person now they call the hustler. It's a populist thing, of course. Of course, it is. It doesn't have a lot of need to. It doesn't have a leg to stand on, but it resonates with the young people there, and so that's what has given Uhuru.
So the Hasna narrative resonates with the young people.
Yes, it needed to the young people and the underprivileged. It did for it was done for long periods of time from since they fell out, since Ruto and Uhuru, because when the need with politics is that if you keep hammering some message, yes, so it worked. They keep talking about it, and it worked. Of course, Uhuru had challenges, really addressing the social needs. When he went too big on infrastructure, and a bit of neglected the social aspects of development. But he's also a bit unlucky. You know the pandemic.
Yes,
pandemic,
you're right, yes.
The pandemic hit the economy so hard. Everywhere. Yeah. Yes. So with the pandemic, the economic grievances rose. All right. So Ruto, having been sidelined, chose on that to raise his own clout. So he's done it fairly well. He's very clever.
It's very clever, actually, because a number of most of the politicians from central Kenya turned against the president.
And one thing I think you raised it. Why is this thing not in other parts of the country? Yes. You know, the Asla narrative.
Yes.
It doesn't need so much in
Nyanza.
Actually, it's just in central.
Yes.
And Nairobi.
Yes.
It's not even in Rift Valley where Ruto comes from.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a unique problem in central Nyanza, in central Kenya, given those economic disparities. Yes.
Yeah, because the fact is actually to put record straight is the president has done a lot. He did the first project was the Outer Ring Road. He did SGR. He did the bypasses. Eastern bypass is being expanded now. Thika Road has been fixed a lot, like the GSU roundabout was fixed, and now even the road a number of sections were fixed. You see, he built the Manara Uhuru Stadium, even some stadium along Ngong Road. I think he was right to say he's the president who has done the most work. And then the fact is that now the people from his own region say he has not done much. You see? And even now he's doing the Mau Road.
Yes, there's a Mau Road.
Project.
There's a massive project.
Then we have this big project, the Express, and joins to it to the Wayaki Way and Rironi Road. A massive project, you see?
Now look at even the subsidies to agriculture.
Yes.
I think before the pandemic,
yes,
there were other stimulus plans, packages that he rolled out, mostly targeting
even
agriculture.
for Mira.
Yes.
I think Mira was supposed to get some billions.
Yes, coffee.
They
have those things they call the cherry fund, tea. If you compare what has gone to the targeted sectors directly benefit mostly people in central Kenya. You hardly find such things in other parts of the country.
Yes.
We've not had a serious subsidy, say for sugarcane farmers in Nyanza,
or cotton farmers,
in Busia, or cashew nut farmers in the coast, or camel keepers in northern Kenya. The fact is that these guys are amplifying some of these things just for the local politics. Yeah, but it's not true. It's not true. Uhuru has done. I think without any fear of contradiction, I would say that it's done far much more than any other president. And the record is set. You know, it's a tough act to follow. I fear for the next president.
Yes.
The next president will nini, especially if you try to do infrastructure. Of course, he's left a bit of debt. But he was very decisive. He decided this is what my administration is going to do. And he tried very hard, as much as he could, to deliver on that. Yeah, so people are used to, people like seeing, relating with the development they can see. So that infrastructure. So the next president probably won't do so much on infrastructure. And at some point, people will start
pointing fingers.
Who did this road? This where you a road and all that. Yeah. So what Uhuru has done is not being appreciated now. But in another 5 years,
they look back,
and the president that follows him will have serious trouble trying to convince Kenyans that he's done anything.
Because there was this removal of Sonko as governor by Uhuru, and then of course he was voted out by the Senate. Now there is the ban on Sonko by the U.S. government.
By the U.S.
And the question is that actually, I'm afraid to say that Sonko is actually not the most corrupt person in Kenya. There are even people who are more corrupt. So the question is, why is the U.S. embassy targeting Sonko? There are people who are in government who are more corrupt than Sonko. You see?
I thought myself, I told some of my colleagues in the newsroom that I thought that is the most useless ban that the U.S. embassy has ever issued in this country, especially if the objective
was to
fight corruption
in Kenya.
Yes.
It doesn't achieve much.
Yes. Because one, Sonko has been fairly dealt with through the local justice system.
Yes.
He's not a fugitive. Sonko is not a fugitive. He's not somebody who is on the run somewhere. Sonko is being processed through the courts.
Yes.
Sonko has been kicked out of leadership.
Yes.
Sonko is no longer even a public figure. I think the guy just idles on social media and all that. He's given up himself.
Send some useless videos.
Yes, send some videos. Yes. So Sonko, he has no influence in any now. Right? Then we have all these things we know in government.
The cartels.
The cartels.
Yes.
They are known.
Yes.
They've been written about in the newspapers. Right? Their names have appeared in parliamentary reports.
Yes.
So why go for Sonko? I think
the Arors and the Kimara.
The Arors and the Kimara. I think it's cowardly. I think that Nini is cowardly. They
But
don't want to go.
I think the US is scared. Like now, if they move for Ruto now, it will be like now giving Raila the carte blanche. Now he will now just roll on to be president.
What?
And it can even start a fight in Kenya if you now ban Ruto. If the US ban spaces a ban on Ruto, it takes us back to 2013.
If you can't ban, if you say you
takes us back 2013.
If you say the idea is to end corruption,
yes,
and you feel you can't ban anybody else because of his profile, then you'd rather just stop banning anyone.
Yeah, I think they should stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should just stop.
Actually, the US should stop because the other day they banned.
They banned Wako.
Wako for nothing. Actually, Wako had Actually was being banned for the second time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and what did even Wako do?
What was the outcome of that Wako? You know, you
Nothing.
see, whatever decision you make, when it is evaluated, if you say we are doing this to discourage corruption, then you go for some obscure. Of course, Nyawako is a former nini, but it's not. It's not
some small fry.
It's some small fry. I don't even know how much Wako was stolen.
Yes.
And nini. Well, these guys we know have stolen. Yes. The Auditor General reports all the names of all these guys. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some analysis indicating that they wanted to send a warning, message to some other nini. But the fact the thing is that why can't you just...
No, but it also means there are people on their list.
Yes.
So they are going to ban more people. I don't think it will only end at Nani.
At Sonko. If Sonko, that's what they need, but yeah.
They were testing the waters.
They are testing the waters.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope so, but I don't think they're achieving much with the banning. So.
Because I think the country is facing a very big crisis currently. Because you have a president who is leaving, is supporting a candidate from the opposition who is actually 77 years. And then his own deputy is also running, who himself he has come out to accuse of corruption.
Yes.
Yes. And then what if the deputy wins?
You see, that's what happened in the in the last transition. The last transition from Kibaki, right? There were several integrity issues that were raised about the candidature of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Including the ICC. But they ran when the ICC cases were still active. Yeah, and there was Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Yes.
Yeah. How that was the same argument.
Actually, we are back to 2013.
We are back to 2013 in terms of any. Yeah, where you have these guys, a number of guys who probably soon participate in elections. Being allowed to one for convenience, like you say, the US may argue that if we punish these guys,
start a war.
It may start a war. That's a similar argument the Kibaki administration was saying, that if we stop these guys from running, there will be violence and all that. I think at some point, if anyone cares about fighting corruption, at some point they'll have to bite the bullet. Yeah, if you continue to have these fears that there will be violence and all, then you let them. Like in the last case, what happened is that once these two guys took power, it was almost impossible to successfully prosecute them at the ICC. You know what powers.
So they have to give up.
Yeah, they have to. So if you say that if we prosecute or we ban some powerful guy for corruption, that if we do that, then there will be violence and all that, then just give up the fight against corruption.
They are not fighting anything.
Because once they once they get into power, it becomes even much harder to fight the corruption. Yes.
I think now to conclude, I think there's been this talk that the president, many people have said it, that the president has no clout now. He's retiring. He cannot. But me, I think that Uhuru Kenyatta still has a lot of clout, and his message is still taken very seriously in central Kenya, and nobody can actually afford to say that he's like a punctured politician. That's not true. He still has a lot of power. How do you see it?
I tackled the same issue in my column, I think 2 weeks ago. And I sought to debunk that notion.
That he has no power.
That he has no power, that he has no political influence. People just look at Central. Okay, let's even look at Central alone. And for a long time, he avoided playing politics. He said he wanted to concentrate on his work and that he would come. But look at what has happened in the last 2 weeks alone, since he stepped out into the political. Look at Jubilee, just that was said to be dead. And you can see a number of defections already. Yeah, within just 2 weeks. One, Jubilee is coming back to life. Two, a number of politicians in central Kenya are having the courage to identify themselves with the Jubilee. You remember 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in those by-elections, I think in central Kenya, it was very unfashionable to try to identify with Jubilee. So, if you go by what has happened in the 2 weeks alone, I think it still has quite some influence in central Kenya. But just compare them. I think I also did another column where I was trying to compare head to head. Okay, you say Uhuru Kenyatta doesn't have influence. So who does?
In central
Take Uhuru, pair them. Pair Uhuru with Ndindi Njoro.
Yes.
Or Gachagua.
Yes.
Or Kimani Ichung'wah. Take one head to head. Yes.
Who has more weight?
Who has more weight?
Yes.
Then, you know, central Kenya politics is also a bit related to parts of Rift Valley, Nakuru.
Yes.
I've talked to a few colleagues who come from there, and they tell me that Uhuru Kenyatta is more influential among his people, the ethnic, people belonging to ethnic, the guys in Nakuru.
Yes.
The guys who live in Rift Valley.
Yes.
The guys who said that in 2007 and 2008, during the post-election violence, this is the guy who saved us. You know, you look at Kikuyus, we tend to, band them together. Some of their interests are very different.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
In Molo, Subukia, Naivasha.
It's not the same as Murang'a.
It's not why they don't have any. Those ones have been displaced before. Those ones are having some people still occupying their land. They are very different than me. Yeah, so if you go to Uhuru, you pay Uhuru with Susan Keika.
Yes.
The last Susan Keika, what did you do to us in 2007 when our houses were being burnt and people were being.
What did you do at that time?
Yeah, what did you do at those times? Those are the kind of political conversations that those guys are going to have between now and August. So, and that makes Uhuru
very influential,
a very tough customer for William Ruto and the other needs. So I don't think his name is. Of course, he's also royalty. He's a prince.
Yes.
He is the son of a former president, but not just a prince. He connects
to the common man.
With the common man.
Yes.
Yeah, the way he speaks to them. You should just watch at those Nini in Sagana, whom there is mastery of the vernacular. Yeah. But you can see, you just see me. I don't buy that Nini. I think it's a myth. It's a myth. I think Uhuru is still going to play a very important role in this election.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Otieno.
Okay, thanks for having me.
And I hope we can do another interview.
Yes, thanks.
That was a good analysis.
Anytime.